everyone. I welcome you all on behalf of Shri Vaishnav Vidyapit Vishwavidyalaya and Shri Vaishnav Institute of Information Technology. Hope you all are doing good in health, wealth, and tech. Shri Vaishnav Vidyapit Vishwavidyalaya is one of the most topmost university in Indore, which serves you with various beneficial aspects, and one of them is Void Hacks, a 24 hours online hackathon, which is Central India's biggest hackathon organized by Shri Vaishnav Vidyapit Vishwavidyalaya. After successful completion of three versions of Void Hacks, that is Void Hacks 1.0 in 2019, Void Hacks 2.0 in 2020, and Void Hacks 3.0 in 2021, we are here with another version or the next edition of Void Hacks, which is Void Hacks 4.0. The theme of Void X 4.0 is full stack development with innovation of AI ML and fintech. Void X 4.0 will be held on 4th and 5th of November. Void X 4.0 presents Tech Talks. Everyone, tighten your seat belts as we are here to provide you with a wide range of technical knowledge with our Tech Talks. And to move further, I would like to invite our today's tech speaker, Mr. Chintan Bhatt, founder and chief designer of UX team, to take us through the journey of the technical talk on UX design. Handing over to you, sir. Thank you.
Perfect. Hello, guys. How are you? Good evening, and thanks for joining this. So we are going to part this overall, kind of an talk in two sessions. One is let me walk you through the career in UX, right? Because considering you guys are mainly from engineering, kind of in college, and you have been doing a lot other than the design part, right? And that's where the overall purpose of this talk is to give you, a bit of understanding about what is UX, how it is, how it has been evolved into last couple of years, and on the top of that, what's the demand, right? Because at the end of the day, we are talking about career in UX, right? And how much lucrative that career is. That's something everybody would like to know, right? So let me share that presentation with you. I think we can wrap it up around 8, and I'll try my best to do that. And then I think whatever the questions people can have, we can of course kind of attend those questions, because I always kind of give a lot of importance to those questions. Specifically, people are more interested in more like discovering this total UX thing. So let me share my screen. Yeah, let me know when you can see this. Cool. So when we say career in UX, first of all, we just need to understand the fundamental of UX, right? So what is exactly UX design, right? So when we say UX, we always hear about UX and UI, right? So there is a difference between UX and UI. So when we say UX is user experience, UI is user interface. Both of the terms are somehow joined together, but in real time, the good UX is going to give good user experience to the users, and that's how UI is more like a subset of the UX, right? And not both are the different one. Considering if we put up in a simple language that what is UX and how it's going to be helpful. So we take this example that if a person uses some app, takes a desired action without any hiccups, it means that is kind of a value UX which has been designed, right? And if the system is easy to learn and efficient to use and pleasant, it means the UI is well designed, right? So considering any particular screen has fantastic experience, but at the same time, if the colors are not good, aesthetics are not good, then automatically it's going to impact the overall user experience, right? Now let's a little bit kind of talk about the difference between UX and UI with this terminology. So when we say UX, it's more like a critical thinking, right? Where we create a lot of things like user stories, user testing, user research, persona. And UI is creative thinking, right? When we talk about colors, typography, patterns, images, visual designs, branding, a lot of things. But yes, as I mentioned, UI overall design is going to really contribute overall good user experience on that. Okay. Evolution of UX, right? How this kind of an got evolved, through a lot of decades itself. So starting with 1950, the user experience was applied practically, but it was never recognized as UX, right? At that time, it was more like kind of a good usability or usability design. UX was not there because there was kind of a not kind of an evolution of computer and on smartphones also, right? So and at that point of time, the usability was given a really good importance on that. So just a simple example that kind of in Bell Labs hired John, a psychologist, to design the telephone system in 1945. And in the 50s, Bell Labs had incorporated human-centric design by introducing the touch tone keyboard itself, right? So it's a simple, change, but of course, it's going to, kind of an give it a good usability where you have just don't have to, kind of an just round the figure for connecting to somebody. So that's how, in 1993, Don Norman coined the term user experience, who is more like, called the father of UX, right? Who invented this term user experience itself. And that's how, people started understanding, the overall user experience terminology. Okay, evolution of UX, late 90s, when there are more like, three major kind of I would say era which evolved this overall UX, right? So one is PC, just IBM and a lot of Apple also introduced the the computers itself, right? And that's how the overall world started getting into the digital aspect of the technology. Then web revolution, website started kind of an getting design itself, right? So a lot of companies are going to get their presence on the digital aspect of the website, right? So that's how people literally started interacting with a lot of digital kind of an I would say laptop and computers. Third is dot-com bubble, right? And that's where a lot of kind of companies came into the picture, starting with Amazon and various other kind of I would say specifically tech portals, right, come into the picture, which is called dot-com bubble itself. So these three parameters really kind of an pushed the overall importance of UX in the digital world itself. Okay, 2001 mobile wave, as we know that there was no smartphone before that, right? So now we are using kind of using smartphone with big screens, right? And everything is available on smartphone, right? So that automatically kind of and pushed the overall digital efforts for building some applications, mobile applications and so on, right? So that was a very big change which we saw from 2001 2010 data, right? And that's how we could understand that data is more valuable than money, right? So data is really important. We started kind of getting introduced to a lot of various data oriented application itself. Facebook is one of them, WhatsApp is one of them. And then 2020, the Apple design effect, which is of course Apple and Google are more like kind of a very game changer in introducing this UX part of technology, right? So then Apple started with iPhone, and then kind of a lot of smartphones got into the market from the various companies, and that's how literally pushed the overall UX phase itself. Now let's talk about career prospect in UX. First of all, you need to understand whenever we say about getting into UX, and choosing your career option in UX, it's very important for you guys to understand that there are a lot of lines in UX, right? Considering if you are fantastic UI designer, you can get into UI. If you are great at critical thinking, you can get into UX, right? But now kind of a lot of startups and a lot of kind of people are really focusing upon the good user experience, and that's where they started kind of hiring various type of people. So like you said, even only UX or kind of an information architecture design, and such other posts itself. But again, in the Indian market, normally most of the companies need full stack designer who can do the research, who can do the interface, overall prototyping, and then the visual design itself. So I would say I put a few points on that. If we look at kind of an change to design team headcount in the past year, 10 years back, that were the startups. But if you see the ratio between kind of designers and developers, it was always like one designer among the team of 20, right? Now this particular overall ratio has kind of gone very bit high itself, because people have started understanding the need of the better user experience, for any particular digital application, whether it's mobile or web app, to get succeeded, right? Because a lot of money is getting poured to this kind of startups. So business need to focus on the UX to remain competitive, right? Just like if you are saying that, in an Indian market, even say good experience, let's say, and that's where there is a competition between Ola and Uber, competition between Zomato and Swiggy, and a lot of other markets, sorry, a lot of other kind of portals in the market. So that's how automatically, if somebody has to, some particular portal has to kind of get succeeded in the race itself, they always have to focus on the overall user experience itself. 70% of companies expanded their design team in last 2-3 years based on the report itself. Design teams are expected to grow by average 20% by next year. So if we can kind of see here, changes to design team headcount in the past year, 70% has been increased, 22% stayed the same, and so on. Okay. Hard skill for the year 2022, as UX design was counted number 5, based on the LinkedIn report itself. So, diversity in the UX design field, right? So when we say diversity, what do we mean by that? A lot of people, specifically, just like you, who comes from an engineering background, who may or may not have get exposed to the UX design. You may have heard about that, but you may not know what is exactly this UX design is. And that's where a lot of people coming from non-design background, they come from engineering background, they come from management background, they come from a lot of background where the UX is not taught. But the most important part, we would like to understand that its diversity is always very helpful for the people to get better design, right? And how we can look at from this. So 44% of fields are related to UX design, remaining 56% of fields are unrelated to UX design, right? So 56, more than 50%, the people, or I would say the people who like to get into that UX design career, they don't come from the design background, right? They come from a lot of various other backgrounds itself. I would say, just example for my UX team, most of the designers are from engineering background. We have very few from the design kind of school and so on. So it is always very important kind of to have the diversity in the UX field, because every particular person coming from the various background, and they come with that specific knowledge, right? And it's always helpful to the UX design itself. So as I mentioned, some of the great UX designers have unrelated academic background, like LLB or humanities itself. It depends on your interest and your ability to learn skills and tools, right? It's only about kind of learn about the skills itself, right? Tools are also very I would say less important, because tools are just tools, right? You can do wonder with tools, and you may not do wonder with the tools itself. So tools are secondary, but the most important part, if you understand the UX, and if you understand being empathetic about the specific problem, right, that makes you a fantastic UX designer as a whole. Now let's talk about kind of the domain which are kind of related to UI UX design, right? So as we can look at 44%, which is more like graphic design, research analytics, illustration, psychology, marketing, social media management, sales, technical author, database administration, system analysis, software engineering, illustration, right? So a lot of are kind of a background which are related to UI UX design, but a lot of kind of a background, I would say, which are unrelated, which is retail management, office administration, banking, translation, illustration, healthcare, teaching. These are also very important kind of courses where the people come from. The most important aspect of this, that if you come from the engineering background, you have pretty good critical thinking. If you come from kind of a retail management background, you have a good understanding about the retail part of the business. If you come from the office administration part of that, you understand how the administration is going to be much more useful during this visual design and so on. So these are, kind of in some of the related and unrelated kind of, domains where the people come from and get into that UX design here. Okay, here we go. So demand for, UX design in 2022. So again, post-COVID scenario in the UX industry, rising the need for, inclusive user-centric designer, which is mainly, UX designer itself, rising the salary of UX designer because of the high demand, because the B2B and B2C market demands, the UX design itself. Increased potential of remote work. Now, this is a little bit, kind of an also now the remote work has more like, getting decreased as COVID is gone and people, have started working in the office. Higher demand for UX designer in certain sectors and industries other than that typical, kind of in startups and IT companies also. 84% of UX designers saw their salary increase in the last 1 or 2 years, and 20% salary increase, expected in the next 1 or 2 years by UX designer here. Okay. Demand for non-design, background people, right? So if you look at this, I'll just, kind of, and I'd like you to take it through this first. So according to the people managers, top background that makes UX designer successful, where do people come from? The 74% people come from product management, 53 comes from engineering, 39 from marketing advertising, 40 from business operations, and there are, very few more on that. So why this is important? If you look at, this particular point by point, hiring managers plays a high value on diverse, non-design related background experience like management, which is more like 74% and engineering 53%. Diverse professional background helps designers to fulfill, evolving responsibilities itself. A designer with coding skill has competitive advantage and will fare, kind of very well in the startup job market, because startup always, kind of looks for the people who understand the feasibility of the engineering part, but on the same side, they also need the people who can, kind of solve the problems, being a designer also. You can also leverage your passion to becoming, to become a hybrid UX unicorn or UX consultant. That's also, one particular, kind of an career line, which the people can choose. But again, I would say it also needs a bit of experience, because once you start being a consultant, you must have certain, industry experience before, you get on that. Yeah, as I just, put up this, quote itself, a lot of people specifically, when, kind of in Harshit also and my HR also, hiring a lot of people, they always come from the background that is, I'm a coder, but I also love UX design. I would like to, get into UX itself. Okay, so again, I'll just take it quickly. Projection of the demand. UX has come a long way since 1950, and this particular parameters, you guys are smart. You can always Google on that. But of course, UX, the crux of this one, its UX is going to get larger in coming years itself, and thanks to the digital aspect, of the overall ecosystem which we are living into. UX roles and deliverables. What type of UX roles we can look at if somebody would like to get into UX career? My team are more like coming with the full stack design, right? So, but normally a lot of people come from the various core strength, right? So particular people who love to do research and to kind of explore the things, they can be very well fit with the UX researcher position itself, right? And what is this thing, by the way? So plans and conduct user research and competitor analysis, gathers and analyze data to create actionable outcomes, right? So research is nothing but a simple research, understanding who are the people who are going to use the application or digital kind of an, I would say, asset, right? And that's where the UX researcher has to really understand for whom they are designing this, overall UX, right? What is the age group? Where are they from? What are their, daily patterns on that? What are the pain points, which they are facing, which kind of, gives you a good understanding that, how to overcome with those pain points itself while designing some type of solution, for them. Coming to UX designer, when we call it, what is UX designer? We call it, this is how this thing should work. So understand the business domains, product goals, and its users from UX researcher. Create user stories, personas, and storyboards. This is again, bit technical terms on that. Don't worry much on this as we have limited time, but we can cover, during questions if you have any on that. But When we say UX designer, the UX designer mainly work on understanding the overall product, right? And that's where they have also have to kind of talk to researcher. They also have to understand for whom they are designing, because UX designer are mainly going to work on the architecture part of the application. They also have to kind of design the flow chart of where the user kind of is heading from A to B point on the application. And of course they have to kind of create the wireframe and prototype itself, right? So the UX designer roles is very very big in terms of kind of amount of the work he or she has to carry on. UX writer, when we say UX writer, which is kind of a copywriter, but it is not exactly copywriter, right? So when we call it in a one sentence, it says that this is what this thing should say, right? So when we say, it does mean that what it kind of communicates, right? How it should communicate, understands the product, its tone of voice, platform, and goals, right? So a very very old example, when Facebook kind of started getting into the market, rather than they say this, just put up your post, they says what's on your mind, right? That's how it's going to kind of engage the overall experience of the user with just copy, right? So, and that's where this overall UX writer is also very much in demand itself, who who can kind of understand the copy and understand the user persona and write for those specific users, right? So automatically it can communicate very well with that typical kind of an tone of voice itself. Then UI, visual designer, which is more like this is how this thing looks, right? So working with the color, typography, aesthetics, a lot of part on that, right? And this particular person needs to be fantastic in color theory, typography, typeface itself, and other branding aspect of that. So it's more about kind of in how the things looks, right? Usability tester, it is also more like kind of a term and role which is there in the market, but not at the very high end. Usability tester is nothing but more like focus on user flows and user ease of using the product, right? So once a UX designer and visual designer complete the overall prototype, and when it goes to kind of an engineering phase of that, and once it just application comes out and kind of be live, that's where usability tester is going to kind of get a lot of kind of feedback by testing that application with the various actual users, and then coordinates with designer and develops to fix those kind of reviews or feedback we have received from the users itself in order to improve the product. Full stack designer, this whole thing needs to work, right? So full stack designer is nothing but more like all the particular roles which we have gone through, starting with the researcher, starting with researcher, then designing the prototypes, then even the getting on the writing also, and then visual designing, and also usability testing on that. So yeah, so these are the typical roles we are looking at. Now let's talk about tools. And as I mentioned, it's less important, but it's very important when you work, with the tech, industry out there, right? So and these are the most of the major tools we have been using, are listed here, just like any other kind of tech or design company. Design tools. Our team majorly use Figma. We are in love with Figma, and now, as I'm not sure how many people are aware of that, but Adobe XD has bought, sorry, not Adobe XD, but Adobe has bought Figma now, right? So Figma is very very kind of a primary tool for the designer, and it's a very it's a very simple tool, right? But it's very strong tool itself, and lot of kind of projects, most of the projects are getting design in Figma, right? So that's the number one design tool if I put it in priority. Adobe XD and Sketch are again less used. Adobe XD, as we know that Adobe XD is going to shut down in some time when the Figma is going to be on top of this. But Sketch, of course, people still are using Sketch specifically for the Mac users, the Apple users are using Sketch itself. InVision Studio is also there. Whimsical is also very fantastic tool which we are also using to create architecture, to create user flow, to create kind of a very very low fidelity wireframe also on that. Communication and management tools, which is very very important, because as a designer your role doesn't end just to designing something. You're also kind of an ask you to communicate and manage your projects, right, with the development team, with the clients, and lot many other people itself. So Slack is something which we have been using a lot, in order to communicate and save a lot of emails, right? So Slack is very trendy, right? And that's why we have been using Slack for a lot of our clients also. Skype, as we know, Zoom, of course, for the meeting as we are using it. Google Meet, yes, but Slack, Skype, Zoom, Google Meet are more like communication one. But the management tools, or I would say project management tools, which are very very important, for the designer to understand the nitty-gritty part of it in order to manage their entire task, with the client itself. So Jira is very important, which we have been using. We also use Basecamp. We are also loving Notion a lot. We have been using Notion a lot also. Asana and Monday, and a lot of project management tools are getting into the market every month. So yeah, but these are the major tools which we have been kind of been using, and I recommend the designers to use this. Typical day in the life of UX designer. So consult to-do list, right? So once start your day with coffee or tea, your your normally kind of a day starts with understanding what are the tasks are in the plate itself, to go through design sprints, talk to the manager, talk to the internal team, and understand what task needs to be done on that. Meetings are very very important part of the UX designer life, because they always have to kind of talk to the clients, talk to the developers, understand their requirements, set the expectations, and so on. Also kind of sharing their design and have that feedback itself. Conceptualize, create, and iterate on the design. Take a client call to present the work in progress. Gather feedback and iterate on based outcomes on this. This is a very important part, which is soft skill set, right? So what type of skill set you need to become a UX designer, right? Soft skill sets, I would say, which is very very important from my end, and I recommend the people to work on more on soft skill set itself, right? And what are the soft skill sets? Let's put it that way. So soft skill set is nothing but which are not technical skill sets, but the day you have kind of an you have born on this earth, and how you have cultivated your overall life. A lot of kind of an factors have impacted on your lifestyle, on your kind of a mindset, on your soft skills part of your life, right? And what are they? So which is starting with adaptability, right? So adaptability is you must be open to adapt anything. You should not be rigid about, okay, I love XT, I cannot go with Figma. I love this, I cannot go with that, right? So it's always about kind of an be flexible, push yourself, which is a soft skill. It's very very important kind of a soft skill which most of the designers should have. Communication, collaboration, and teamwork, right? So which is very important. When we say communication, in India we coined this term specifically kind of connected to the language part, which is English, right? But more than that, the communication is something which is more than English, right? Which is understand the requirements of the client, talk to them, share your design, explain their rationale, right? So I believe communication is a very very important aspect of that. And based on the industry report itself, a lot of kind of in US based companies or UK based companies or offshore companies who like to hire the designers from India itself, but 70% designers are getting rejected because of their communication skill set, which is a huge figure. So if you understand you can design well, but you cannot explain your design to the client, right, then you are gone. I think no matter how much fantastic design you have made, you cannot explain them, right? So if you understand, communication is so important on that. Collaboration is nothing but collaborate with your team members, collaborate with the development team, collaborate with the clients and that team also, and teamwork, which is very important part of this which is more like work as a member in the team itself. Problem solving, which is also soft skills here, right? So nothing has to do kind of with the design. We always look for kind of and solve certain problems, right? So that's more like a soft skill set, which is always kind of and triggers you to get the better UX solution. Design thinking, we have heard that a lot, but design thinking is nothing but kind of and design the overall experience by putting the user in center, right? So for whom we have been designing, that is the most important part of that, right? So if you understand that, if I have to design this specifically application for the disabled children, anything starting from, let's say 5 to 15 age of this, specifically, in India itself, then you have a good understanding for whom you have been designing, right? So that's how you always put a focus that for whom you have been, you are going to design itself. User-centric mindset is nothing but similar to design thinking, but as I mentioned, that you always put the user in center while designing that. Excellent attention to detail, which is very, very important itself, right? So you should have kind of a very, very particular about checking your designs, or not just designs also, but more like kind of as a soft skill set. You always kind of check each and every detail before signing it off. Creative and analytical approach, right? So when I've been working with a lot of engineering kind of a team members, in UX team itself, it's always fantastic to kind of get the solution from their minds, which is thankful to that creative and analytical mindset on this. Industry skill set we have already gone through, but quickly I can walk you through. So user research, wireframe and prototyping, UX writing, visual design, testing, industry tools, understanding of design principles, more like a fundamentals, and know-how of market trends, which is very important. So it is very important to literally get in touch or keep ourselves posted about where the market is going, right? What type of various other functionalities iPhone is coming up with, iPhone 14, how it's going to, change the dynamics of the over user experience. What are the other, kind of platforms are coming into the market, how they are trying to solve the problem, right? Which is very important part of that, right? So you should always focus about, to get connected with, with the industry and the ecosystem happening out there. Crossover skills, which is also very, very important, which is business acumen, right? So I always kind of make sure that all of my team members in UX team, they should not be just focus on the design. They should focus mainly on the business and then design as secondary, right? So when we say business acumen is nothing but you understand the industry domain, right? So if you have to design certain application for, let's say, healthcare industry, that's where you literally have to understand the business aspect of that healthcare industry, because there are various multiple layers even into healthcare, right? So it could be the pharmacy, it could be the hospital, it could be the healthcare organization. There are a lot of there kind of verticals into healthcare, right? So if you get pretty good business acumen, your research skill will be very, very strong itself, because you can easily connect with the business part of the application, and that's how you can design that very well, where you have understood the business domain on that. Technical know-how, yes. Coding and development, better to have, good to have, I would say, not really necessary. UX team specifically is into designing only, right? So we have been working only with the designs itself. We don't do develop, right? And my teammates also don't do develop on that, right? So so far, we are able to live with only design, right? So that being said, that it's not really necessary, but it's good to have for sure. Content writing, which can push you to become a good UX writer, right? Research and analytical skills, of course, which can kind of put you in a spot where you can be a good researcher itself. Customer service, for sure, because customer service is always make you a very, very kind of customer centric, right? And client centric itself, right? In order to communicate with them, stick to your timeline, stick to kind of a collaboration aspect with the client and so on. So yeah, so this is it. I would just like to skip it here. UX scenario in India, if we call it, a lot of opportunities out there in India itself. As we know, Hyderabad, Bangalore, Chennai, I would say Gurgaon also, Delhi itself, right, where the startups are taking place, and Mumbai itself, Pune also, sure. Ahmedabad is also there. But and when I say Ahmedabad, it's more like from the Gujarat, aspect of that. It is getting evolved now. So yeah, and these are more like when we say opportunity itself, this a lot of startups and a lot of IT companies are located into this various locations in India itself. Okay, UX UI salary in India. You can Google it and find it out. But I would say there is no any specifically set of the designers salary, because it always depends upon the cost of living for the particular city, right? So um, if the cost of living is high, you can get the whole package. But as a UI UX designer, you always have to kind of figure it out how much you can save, right? Let's not get much into that, but it's very important for you guys to understand that it's not about kind of the package. It's also about how much you can save based on the cost of living, of your city itself. UX salary don't depend on the academic background, as I mentioned. If you come from the design background, non-design background, people care less until unless you have a pretty good skill set. You have fantastic communication skill set. You have a good empathy about the user. You are a fantastic problem solver. Yes, and number of years of experience. At certain extent, when you get into the UX design career, of course, years of experience at certain extent it may matter, but it's not always matter, because people always kind of like fresh minds, who come with kind of a different approach towards the design itself. So yeah, depends upon design skill set, quality years of experience, UX challenges you have overcome. And yeah, your UX salaries are dependent on skill set. When we say skill set, include the technical and soft skill set, both of this. So yeah, as I mentioned about the cost of living is important part of it. Yeah. So I think this is pretty much it. Start your UX journey if you like to. I'll just make it quick on that. Start with very very small crash course on this, where you understand the various parameters of the UX design, right? So you can design a very very small mobile application, or kind of the application itself, right? So you can start getting that crash course. My recommendation is really not to go for a larger course, because you will start messing up yourself, right? So it's better to know a little bit and then start adding the layer, starting with kind of a crash course, and then kind of moving forward with a little bit on kind of a details course for, let's say, design system or user research or information architecture and so forth. So yeah, I think that's pretty much it, guys. Sakshi, how do you want to move forward on this?
Um, Thank you so much, sir, for taking us through such an insightful journey of UX design. And our students would have really understood something really interesting. So, our inquisitive audience have asked many questions, and we'll be taking some of them right now,
Sure,
if it's fine.
absolutely. Please go.
Okay, so it's time for the question and answer round. Avishi, please come and have some questions here.
Okay, thank you so much, Sakshi. So the first question we got is, what do you feel about Figma after getting sold to Adobe, and where do you see its future?
Okay, so we need to understand that Adobe already tried getting kind of an Adobe XD design, right? Figma was already kind of got introduced in the market, kind of prior to Adobe XD got into the market, right? Don't worry, I would say there will not be any huge change, because Figma will be Figma, and that's how the essence of the Figma for which the Adobe has bought it, right? So and it matters less to the designer, to be very frank. Even we are not thinking, but yeah, one thing it may have, it may happen that Adobe is more like money making company, so they start kind of an I would say increasing a bit of subscription fees itself, but otherwise I don't think so, because Figma will be Figma itself, right? And you will not feel that it's a part of that Adobe. I hope again, yeah, but not don't worry much on that. Not going to be a big deal on this.
I think that will clear the person's doubt. So the next question we have is, how UX design is interrelated to development? And please also brief something about job area in both the areas. Yeah.
Sure, absolutely. So, first of all, we need to understand, when we say UX design, uh, when we say, when we get into UX design, for any particular building, any product, you need two people, a lot of people, but let's say majorly two people. One is design team and one is development team. When we say, kind of a design team, your focus would be always, kind of in being a designer, right? Being a developer and a designer, more like, full stack one, I would say I will not recommend to one particular person, an individual, to become a UX designer and, let's say, heavy technology developer. For an example, let's say, I would say Java, right? Because industry don't need that much. You understand that, right? So industry may love you, but the major thing is, you are going to, put yourself in a spot where, kind of an jack of all trades and master of none, right? So and that's better to, kind of an choose the side where you would like to get into. Yeah, your core strength could be design, okay, and the secondary, you can, kind of get on that development aspect of that wherever the job demands or the company demands or the project demands. Interrelation between, design and development, it is very very essential even for the designer to understand the feasibility aspect of the development, right? So for an example, in UX team, we have been designing a lot of, kind of in dashboards and, data visualization experience on that. The important part is for the designer is always to focus upon not to design the fancy things, right? That's where their job, don't end, because we always need to think about the client. They always lead the final product, right? So if you design a fantastic, something out of the world design, but your development team or the development, kind of a technology is not ready to, kind of develop that design, that's how, your design is going to be, kind of a meaningless one, right? So it's always being a designer, you always have to, understand the technology. If there are other technologies getting into the market, you always, have to be more curious about, what other platforms are there in the market and how, you understand the technology. So, once day you say that you have to design mobile application for an iOS, you have a better understanding that, what are the do's and don'ts for iOS and, kind of an Android in order to design that experience. So yeah, interrelation is very very important, but it doesn't mean that you have to be a designer and developer at the same time, because normally anywhere we have been working with mainly US, kind of a region, and Dubai, and, kind of an Australia itself. There is not a demand of the person who says, I also can design and develop itself, right? Most of the people are either designer or either developer. I would say 4 to 5% people are more on, both the things. But that's very important part. You understand that design is a very, very wide space and getting wider on each and every day, right? So you have a lot to do even in the design itself, right? It may not kind of, leave you some space to work on the development part on that. And for the career future, longer term, you have to choose the side. Does that answer?
Okay, that was a very insightful answer. So the next question is, which industries are mostly dependent on UI UX?
Sure. So let me answer you this. Any industry, right? Okay, but the major industry, where I would say, not industry, but I would say, kind of an target audience are B2C, right, and B2B itself, right? When we say B2C, why? Considering, we have been, using a lot of application on our daily life, lot of mobile app, experience are, going to, make us happy, and the same experience, kind of, and can make us frustrated, right? Swiggy orders the food, very fast. You are happy, but the food quality is bad. You are frustrated, right? So considering, when the matter is about making sure that, the end users are more like, kind of customers like us, it's very important, that the UI and the overall user experience should be, much more robust, right? Because they have other options in the market, right? You are not the only one with whom they would like to go, right? So if Zomato is not doing good, right, for the customers, Zomato is, Swiggy is always there. Same goes with Uber and Ola, right? So I would say B2C is very important, and normally any particular application where we say the B2C customers are there, are involved, or the target audience, I think that's where UX is very very essential. But it doesn't mean that for the B2B, when I say business to business users, it is not important. It's also very very important on that. But as you understand, when you talk about one business, right, that particular one business carries a lot of kind of an end user, right? So, and that's where it's very important to focus on both the sides. Now that's what we talk about, kind of a target audience. Now we talk about industry. A lot of industries are there, I would say. People always focus on the industry, or I would say kind of an technology or world always focus on the industry which are generating a lot of revenue for them, as we understand that, because UX is nothing but more like if you put better UX, it's going to kind of give you a good return on investment, right? And being that said, healthcare is very important part of it after Corona, absolutely. Fintech or financial domain on this, or finance domain itself is very important on that. And the consumer utility, I would say, if you call it more like kind of an shopping, e-commerce stores and so on, right? And those are the lot of kind of in various other industry out there where people are putting a lot of money, because if they put up a lot of money or good money in UX, automatically it's going to be beneficial back to them. I hope that answers.
Yes, so we agree and we'll surely make note of it. So moving on to the next question. The next question is what's a better perception between development and UX?
Uh, so I'm still not able to understand when you say perception. Perception. What do you mean by that? Because I believe that's somehow redundant to the first question. I just need to understand the questions, in better way outside.
So that's the question that we have been
Sure.
received.
That, yeah, yeah. I would say when it's a perception, how we perceive, the design and development, right? So technology, or a tech industry, if I put it that way, they kind of perceive the UX to give the better experience for the users, right? I'll put it in a simple way, right? If we are using, kind of any particular application, whatever you can see, it's a fantastic experience, right? So that's how people or a tech industry perceive that overall digital experience, which you can see, which you can interact with, and second thing is when we say development, the perceived development aspect of, the particular product, that, if you are trying to perform any action, the development needs to be solid and robust, right? So it doesn't just, kind of crash your overall application, right? So, and that's how as B2B or B2C user, we always see the design first, whether it's a website, a simple website, or I would say, even mobile application or web application, they always see that how that over, experience I'm going to get into. But behind, if the development is not done properly, right, that good design is not going to be meaningful, right? So it's more like, kind of an leveled up, in order to give the good experience on that.
So the next question is how much experience is needed for a college student to have a job in this domain?
So when we say experience, consider that it's not about engineering college. It's, let's talk about any particular college, right? So when you just come out of the college, you have studied a lot, right? Some things which you may not find in real time, right? Some things you may find useful, in your job career. But I would say when you start, kind of in your first job in UX, you always, have to come up with a good understanding about UX, right? Because, for an example, if we hire the people, we always, kind of have an interview to understand their soft skill set part, how much they understand the process, how much, they understand, the difference between UX and UI. How much they understand, kind of the business part of the, kind of the UX design job itself, right? And then getting on, we always look for that if they have worked on any specific, kind of pet projects, no matter if it should not be more like, clientele projects, because as we understand that if you just come out of college, you are going to start your professional journey with the first job. So that's it, that you cannot, you don't have an experience to work with the clients, right? So it is not needed. We, normally industries don't ask for that, agencies don't ask for that, kind of the real time portfolio, but you should at least have 3 to 4 good kind of projects, which could be a pet project. You can choose your project that maybe just challenge yourself that I would like to kind of design type of complex solution for this particular problem which I see there in the market, right? And that's how you can create your own story and create your own project. It is important for the people to review it, right? Because consider that if you have a fantastic resume, you have got fantastic percentages in your engineering line itself, but it is not showing your side of a designer, right? Then how the people, how people can hire you, right? So that's how you should at least have 3 to 4 projects. You can choose your project. You can say that I would like to just work on the mobile application. Absolutely. You can also, work on the website. You can also work on the in the shopping, kind of a cart for fashion and whatnot, right? So once you have this kind of, applications, I would say portfolio design, followed by design process, which is also very important, right? Because you cannot just, say that, these are the end screens looks like, right? Because let's say Harshita will says, no, I would like to literally just hear the story from scratch. What type of problem you identified in the market, moving forward, what type of research you have done, what type of architecture you have designed, what type of user flow you have designed, and moving forward at the end of that project, you can say this is my final look of the project, right? So we always give a lot of importance to the process, when we hire the freshers or interns, I would say. So it's very essential to have the portfolio resume. It's very important, but just have your flavor, right? Be yourself, okay? The age, so I would say the tech industry is very open, and open minded to receive a lot of various type of resumes, right? No need to literally just put up that typical resume, right? So, and don't send word doc in resume, never. All right, just make the PDF. If you are a designer, design it yourself, show your side of kind of a person, right, in the resume, right, which we always love to, right? So which we always love to review on this, and of course the portfolio itself, right? And that can help you a lot to kind of get into your first job. And goes without saying, you always need to get updated yourself, right, where the industry is kind of moving, right? And that knowledge is very important for the designer to get a job, get their first job itself. Does it answer?
Yes, I'm sure this will be really helpful for the person who asked the question. So now we will be taking the last question of our this session.
Sure.
So the question is, how does UI UX support other streams and technology?
Again, this is something kind of an same question, I would say. Answer could be the same. Let me rethink on that. Can you just please repeat the question again?
Okay. How does UI UX support other streams and technologies?
So when we say support, right, the technology needs to support the design, not the either way, right? So that's the answer in one line, right? So if we say that, for an example, 10 years back, the technologies were not that, great itself, right? There were a very low end technology. Now the technologies are very robust itself, right? Okay. And that's how, once you understand the technology, I think you can literally kind of, understand that how much you have to go far in terms of designing, right? Just to give you a simple understanding on that, we design a lot of, dashboards with a lot of charts and graphs and KPIs we need to put up, right? But let's say, if we end up designing something very crazy type of chart, which the technology is not going to, support, not in terms of design, but in terms of, when you load the dashboard, that the data is not going to, kind of load it properly, then it's fiasco, of your project, right? So that's where you have to understand the technology feasibility aspect of that, right? So it is either way. designer need to understand the technology and then design for it, rather reverse way itself.
Okay, so as I said, this was the last question, but I really want to take another question, which is really like emotion connected.
I'm okay with that. If you like to spend 10 more minutes, I'm absolutely up for that.
Yeah. So the question is how to cope with things when the design get rejected because it always gives disheartened feeling.
Sure, absolutely it does, right? And I would say, first of all, one answer to this, okay, and maybe you can just put up that on your board when you design that. Don't get attached yourself to the design, right? It's very important to kind of design something, forget it, get the new artboard on the next day and design something, something different, right? So first of all, that's the feeling you should start developing, right? Okay. You cannot control everything, first of all, right? Okay, no matter how much design process you have followed, how much efforts you have put up, maybe more than 100%, right? Client is client, because we work with people, right? So that's where people can say, or client can say, no, I don't like the design, right? And then you are going to be disheartened, right? But I would say, first of all, we need to be kind of change ourselves, because we cannot change the client, right? Okay, maybe in one project client is fantastic, he or she is going to love your design, but the next project client is different, right? But I would say, so that's the one thing which I normally keep my team member says, that just don't lose the tempo if your design is going to get rejected, right? But what does that mean? First of all, you have to understand few things here. First of all, you should come designing something through the process. Okay, so if you have done the research, we always design the lot of stuff and keep the client in momentum with us, right? So even if we do that, design the persona, we always confirm it with the client that this is what we are looking at, the target audience, is that in the right direction or no, right? So going forward, you say, we are just going to design the simple black and white prototype, right? We are going to show it to the client, make sure that the flow is good. Are they liking this overall experience of the interlinking prototype on that, right? Once they confirm and approve on that, then only we work on the visual design, which is adding the colors and fonts and a lot of things itself, right, to make it, to give the life to this overall kind of a black and white prototype, right? So that's how you are, if you are going to follow the design process, you are going to minimize your overall risk, right? So considering at the visual design aspect, when kind of a client says, oh, I don't like the design, right, then you should have that kind of conversation, right? So you should be much more better at having the conversation with the client to ask them what you don't like, right? You just don't have to kind of and just say, oh, my design is gone, right? That's not the right approach. Okay, you always have to understand why the client is not liking the designers, right? It may kind of push you more to literally ask the right question. Okay, that what you didn't like, right? Did you not like the button? Did you not like the color? Did you not like the typography, right? So you are trying to break the feedback into various pieces. So if the client says, no, I don't like the typography, then yes, then we are talking about changing the typography. But if he says, do you like the colors? He says, yes, I like the color. Then you don't have to change the colors, right? So at that point of time, your whole design is not getting rejected. Okay, and considering that if the client says during the visual design, no, the flow is not good, then you already have signed it off the overall flow during the prototype design, right? So, and that's where you can tell the client that, hey, we already worked on the prototype and you signed it off. That's what we do with the client. So now we are talking about changing the flow. Okay, then it's not about rejecting the design, it's about rethinking the design. Understand, right? So this is where the things are getting changed. Okay, so it's always very important to follow the process and make sure that you get each and every piece of the design getting approved with the client signed off. Make a header of signed off. Client, we are good with the prototype design. Okay, cool. Then we are going to moving forward on the visual design. I hope we are not going to change the flow of that overall prototype, right, during the visual design. And we always have to kind of educate the client that if we are going to work on both of these changes in that at the last phase, it's going to be a cumbersome cumbersome process, and it's going to automatically going to stretch your overall timeline of the project. So I think, yeah, so it's more like a process. But yes, don't be afraid, don't get decided. That's the big piece of advice for all the designers.
Thank you, sir. So here comes to the end of our question and answer session, but definitely the beginning of the journey of UX design. Thank you so much, sir. And to move further, I would like to call Vaishnavi Joshi for proposing the vote of thanks.
Perfect.
Thank you, Avishi. It gives me an immense pleasure to deliver the word of thanks for this event to all techies present here. I would like to thank our tech speaker, Mr. Chintan Bhatt, founder and chief designer of UX team, who honored us with his inspirational thoughts. Also, we would like to thank Ms. Harshita Singh, HR, and account manager of UX team for constant support. I would like to thank our respective conveners, Dr. Anand Rajawat, Director, Sri Vaishnav Institute of Information Technology, and Dr. Jigyasu Dubey, Head Department of Information Technology. Our faculty coordinators, Mr. Sunil Parihar and Mr. Ankit Upadhyay, organizing committee, student coordinators, and of course, a big thanks to our audience for being a patient listener. Once again, I thank one and all for present here. Hope you learned something new and interesting today. Thank you.
Thank you, guys. I really enjoyed the session itself. Perfect.
Thank you so much, sir, once again for helping us to explore the fields of UX design. It really means a lot. And so, a few words from your side.
Yeah, so I enjoyed this. I always used to do a lot of meetups itself for the people who like to get into this UX design itself. So of course I enjoyed that. I always enjoy the questions itself, right, which I did, of course, right, and that gives a lot of kind of confidence and insight to the students itself. So yeah, I think that's pretty much it. Good luck for all the people who would like to get into the design career itself. And you can reach out to me or Harshita if you have any more question itself in your career, whatnot, related to UX itself.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. Let's end the day. Hope we meet soon and have a nice time ahead.
Cool. Thank you. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Thank you.